see Alma here. We brought Alma and Recardo with us and I'll let him introduce. And I have a few things that I want to show you. This time we also made a video, so I'll be showing that to you. And we also brought a song for you, so I'll be right back.
Dios les bendiga esta mañana.
God bless you this morning.
Estoy muy feliz por estar aquí una vez, por primera vez.
I am so happy to be here for the first time.
Y me siento muy contento con Dios.
And I feel so glad and so happy with God.
Porque Dios es bueno.
Because God is good.
Todo el tiempo.
Every day.
Dios es bueno.
God is good.
De 1971,
that in 1971,
28 de agosto,
on August 28th,
nace un niño
a little boy was born.
y el doctor le dice, solo un milagro puede hacerlo vivir.
And they told to his mother that only a miracle can make him live.
Y Dios hizo el milagro.
And God made that
Aquí
miracle.
estoy.
Because I'm here.
Por eso quiero cantar este canto.
And that's why I want to sing one
Cuán
more
grande
song
es
for
Él.
you that says, how great is this?
Señor mi Dios, al contemplar los cielos, el firmamento y las estrellas vi.
al oír tu voz en los potentes truenos y ver brillar el sol en su cenit. Mi corazón entona la canción, cuán grande es Él, cuán grande es Él. Mi corazón entona la canción, cuán grande es Él, cuán grande es Él. Cuando recuerdo el amor divino que desde el cielo el Salvador envió, aquel Jesús que por salvarme quiso, en una cruz sufrió y por mí murió. Mi corazón entona la canción, cuán grande es Él, cuán grande es Él. Mi corazón entona la canción, cuán grande es Él, cuán grande es Él. Mi corazón entona la canción, cuán grande es Él, cuán grande es Él. Mi corazón entona la canción, cuán grande es Él, cuán grande es Él, cuán grande es Él, cuán grande es Él, cuán grande es Él. Aleluya. Dios le bendiga, Dios le guarde.
Like I said, we have a little something for you, and that is another video. I know some of you have already been to Mexico once or a lot of times before, but a lot of Mexico has changed. So instead of only us telling you, we wanted to bring you a little video so you can see everything. And we just want to say thank you for all your support. You have been so amazing, and you have blessed us a lot, and for you the orphanage has been blessed a lot. So we want to show you what a few of the changes we've made and how everything. The important ones is probably the orphanage. Well, all of them are important, but the one that I like the most, or is more important for me the most, is the orphanage, because we can reach children before they get lost. And this is one of the things that we do, and we have seen the changes through all the children. I'll talk a little bit more about it, but we haven't seen how the kids get to us, and then how after a few time we talk to them and everything, and their attitude completely changes. So we also made, this is what I was making that I graded. It's a little bookmark that it says please pray for, this is the name of the children, and then it says a little verse and our logo in the bottom. So I wanted to bring those so you can take them with you, and I wanted to ask you to commit to pray for one of these children. We know that prayer does amazing things, does miracles, so if you really want to pray for one of them, you can choose one of the kids and you can pray over them, and we know that they're going to change their lives forever. And thank you so much for everything you've done for us. I'll give the mic to my dad so he can tell you more about it.
Hallelujah. What do you think of my baby? I think the work is in good hands in the future, and she's just an amazing young lady and does so much for the ministry. Even when she's off to school and hundreds of miles away, she's always thinking of different ideas on how to improve things, how to organize things, how to promote things, and all this, the videos and little prayer cards, that's all her idea, and she puts it together, brings it to me, says, Dad, what do you think? And sometimes I say, let's change this a little bit, and change that a little bit, but all in all, it's all her idea, and so I thank God for her and her life and what she's doing.
Amen.
Hallelujah. It's my baby. And she gets to travel with me sometimes. And this is one of the times of the year she gets to travel with me, and for that I think goes well. she is the baby. She's the littlest of all my kids. And I always thought early on that probably one of my older kids would be one that would be more inclined to take over the ministry someday when I was gone. And in fact, one of my sons, early on, I thought probably one of my sons. And I had no idea that God would raise up her, the youngest one of all of them, and the girl, and to do this. And so I'm just amazed at all that she does and all that God's doing in her life and what she's doing. Like she said, it's good to be home. We consider this as much home as any place else in the country. And we love it here. We love coming here. We love to share about the work here. And we have a lot of real close friends here. And I don't want to start naming names because I don't want to forget anybody. And so starting, of course, with Mom. It's always good to come home to Mom and see her and see how God is working here and the work here. But then there's many other ones. After her, there's many other ones that we love her so much and we appreciate so much. And we've stayed in some of your homes. In fact, every time we come to Des Moines, it's in one of your homes that we always stay in. And they treat us so well that I don't know what to do. I was saying the other day that I buy pants when I go on itineraries that I buy especially. They have elastic in the sides here. And there's a good reason for that, because every time we come here, they feed us so well that we inevitably put on a few pounds, and it takes us a while to get over that. But so I have to buy these pants that kind of expand when I come up here and make room for the extra pounds that I accumulate while I'm here. And then when I go home, eventually it goes back down to, and I can save the pants for next year. And last night we were taken out to dinner, and I tried to order something small on the plate, but everything out there was huge. And Brother Ricardo, he ordered a plate. I forget what it was called, but the piece of meat stood, I mean, it wasn't only a big piece of meat, but it stood up about this high on the plate. And I had no idea he was going to be able to finish it, but he did. And I think he's going to be looking for a pair of pants like the ones I buy. But I'm being kind of funny, but we just want you to know how much we appreciate all that you do and for the time that we spend together. And even the times where we're just sitting around the table talking, or times we're sitting around playing games and things, it just means so much to us, the closeness that we feel when we come here. And we want to say thank you for all that. Of course, the ministry, I better get to talking about the ministry because I can talk about all these things for a long time, but I need to spend some time talking about the ministry. And the ministry is doing well, and we're excited about things that God is doing in the ministry and how the fellowship is growing and the churches are growing. And Brother Ricardo is here with us today. His dad is one of our pastors in the city of Monterey, doing a tremendous job. I may have mentioned it here before. I don't remember if I had, but when they started their church, they started in a tent behind their house. There was a piece of property that wasn't theirs, but they let them use it, and they put a tent up behind the house, and that's where that work began. It grew to the place they decided they needed a place to be more protected from the weather, and they built a little room on the back side of their house, whatever room they had left on the back side of their lot, that was really not much bigger than this section right here. From me to the wall and about as wide as those benches are, that's all the bigger they had. That's all the rest of the lot they had they could build on. And so they built on that, and it grew to the place that they no longer fit in. In fact, in that area, they probably had squeezed in over 60 people in that amount of space. And so most people were standing, and that's how they could do it. And eventually they had opened the doors, and they even set chairs out on the street in front of the church so that they could have service and get almost everybody in the service. And literally had chairs set out on the street in front of the church. And so they did that for a while, and then I remember his dad came to me one day and said that they needed to find a different building because they just couldn't do that anymore. And so they found a building they could rent, and they rented that building. From that little area, they went to a building that seated about 150 people. And they got to the place where they outgrew that building, and they came to me and said, we got to have another building. And so in front of that church, there was another building that was open for rent, and they're still renting that building. That building seats about 400 people. And they're working hard on trying to fill that one up as well. And so this one, Brother Ricardo here with us is the son of the pastor. They have, of course, large families, and I think everybody, all the kids and grandkids, I think, is in the praise and worship team, and does a tremendous job. The praise and worship there is a little different than it is here. One of the biggest things is that the volume is quite a bit louder than it is here. As a matter of fact, the chandeliers would have been shaking, literally, if we were back home this morning. And they have three guitars, a bass, a drum set, and a piano. I think is what they have there in their praise and worship team. And but I'm anointed. I mean, seriously anointed, and God uses them in a real way. And when I go there to preach, it just makes it so easy. By the time they give me the microphone, the anointing is flowing in there so heavily that they just get up and preach, and then God does miraculous things. And so anyway, he comes from there. I want to share that with you because he comes from that church, and I believe someday God's got a call on his life, and one day he'll be pastoring his own church and doing a tremendous job. And it's just so wonderful that he travels with me sometimes, and this happened to be one of the times that he can travel with me. He carries all my luggage in and out, and I don't know, he does everything for me when we're on the road. So it's a good man of God, a good friend to have, and we're so thankful for him and his ministry. And Brother Bernardo, you remember Brother Bernardo? He was here a few years ago. When he was here last time, he was trying to get a place where they could have church at. They had a congregation, but they were always meeting in somebody's home, and they were trying to find a place that they could meet at. And so after he left here, he went back home, and his wife worked for one of the police stations in Victoria, and she, in her job, was able to get a loan to buy a piece of property. But that meant that if she did that she would have to stay at that job 8 more years than what she had anticipated, so they could get that piece of property paid off. And so she did. She went ahead and got the loan and got enough money to buy the piece of property and do some improvements on the property. And today they have a beautiful church on the downstairs part of the building, and it's growing tremendously. And on top of that, he had never had a home before. He had lived in somebody else's house, and now they've built their own home on the second floor of that building, and doing a tremendous job. And it's just amazing. I don't know if you watch Facebook enough to watch Brother Bernardo, but he's posting always something on Facebook about what they're doing. And they're real big in Vacation Bible Schools. And this year they had over 100 kids at their church location in Vacation Bible School. And just a tremendous job that he's doing. And it's just so exciting to work with men like that, are doing such a tremendous job for God and doing the sacrifices that they make to make all that happen. Another one of our pastors there is Brother Luis. Brother Luis is in the area of Victoria. And the reason why I want to talk about Brother Luis is because Brother Luis is in a wheelchair. He's been in a wheelchair. He's always been handicapped, but especially in the last 5 or 6 years, he's been confined to a wheelchair. Now, Brother Luis, even in that situation or in that condition that he's in, he's doing more for God today than many pastors are doing that are well. He is on his own. Brother Luis on his own has, when we first went there, Almost would be the very first time we went there. When we first went there, they had a piece of property that they were renting at the time. And it had a dirt floor, kind of on an incline going up. It had a dirt floor. Platform was all dirt. The walls were only up about probably shoulder high, maybe a little less than that. And we went in there and had church and had a tremendous service. And the Lord laid it on Alma's heart that out of her money she give him an offering to buy chairs for the church, because they were sitting on buckets, literally sitting on buckets. Sometimes they would have a board that they would extend across the buckets to make kind of a bench, but that's what they were using to sit on. But he was working and continued to work, and we went back there just a little while ago, And we went back, and now the walls go all the way to the top. Now there's a concrete floor where there used to be a dirt floor. The platform now is all completed with tile on the platform, and it's just a beautiful building, a beautiful church. And like I said, the one thing that really speaks loudly to me about Brother Luis is that even in the condition that he's in, even though he's in a wheelchair, he's doing more for God today than many pastors that are totally well and have everything going for him. And but that's the kind of people that God has working with us. And Brother Luis, he calls me, even while I'm on this trip, he calls me several times, and he wanted so bad to be here. He said his dream was to come with me sometime to the States and be able to speak in some of the churches up here. And I'm willing to take the extra effort to make sure that he can do that, that he can, because he's in a wheelchair, so that means there's extra work for somebody to but we're willing to do that for him, to make that dream for him come true because of all the sacrifices that he makes in ministry. And he told Brother Ricardo the other day, he said, I'm even thinking about coming across, he used the word mojado, which means as a wetback. Of course, he's kidding, but he said he was willing to do that just to come along and be a part of what we're doing here. And so pray for Brother Luis as he continues to do the work of God there. Brother Santiago, which is the president of our Mexican fellowship, is doing a tremendous job again. Brother Santiago has had several things happen in his life. He had both of his legs amputated because of sugar diabetes. He's he had his gallbladder removed. He had some problems with his eyesight. He had one day he came in and he needed a pacemaker, and he got a pacemaker put in. And then this year, he was telling me after he was in the hospital, he called me and said, I had to go back to the hospital to get my pacemaker checked out. He said they told me that the battery was almost dead, and he was working along, and he just started feeling kind of weak and so he went and got checked, and it wasn't the batteries weren't dead. It was that the pacemaker quit working, and he was still working along. He was still going at it and doing a lot of work for the Lord, and he said they finally put in a new pacemaker, got it going. And I told him, I said, I think they give you the wrong battery because you got more energy now than I think they give him a double dose of battery power. And because he's just doing a tremendous job for the Lord. And a year or so ago, we were able to find him an electric wheelchair and a ramp for his van. And he's mobile again. He pastors a church in Victoria, and he pastors another church just west of Padilla, about 20 miles, so about 30 miles from his house. And every Sunday, he's just back and forth and mobile and doing things and working for the Lord. And so we thank God for men like that are working. And one last guy I want to share with you, my brother Leonso. Leonso, back in the 80s, went to Bible college with us there in Padilla. And Analu, which was a girl that grew up in the orphanage, she still calls me dad. And anyway, she grew up in the orphanage, married Brother Leonso. They both went to Bible school together and fell in love and got married and went off. And then we had lost contact with them for a few years. And early this year, they started coming, about a year ago, they started coming back to us and attending some of our meetings and things and talking back and forth. And he came back and now has joined our fellowship again. So, and Analu is back with us, and her husband's with us, and doing a tremendous job. This last year, since I was here last year, they just built a brand new building and doing a tremendous work for God. I think that the building will seat about 300 people where they're at. And so doing a tremendous work for God. It's amazing to see how God is working in the lives of some of our Bible school students. And we're excited about that. And so, as a matter of fact, Brother Leonso is preaching for me every Sunday while I'm gone. But he's taking care of his church, and he's taking care of my church while I'm gone. So he's doing a tremendous job. So pray for them as we go back. We just completed, just before I came on this trip, we started about the middle of September. I first went to the city of Monterrey. We had our National Mexico Ministers Convention there, and had a tremendous turnout, and God moved by His Spirit. And one thing that we like about the conventions is it promotes fellowship and growth in our fellowship, and we thank God for what He's doing there. We left that fellowship, or that convention, we left there, and we left the very next day and started on this trip. So we've been on the road now for a little while, since the middle of September, And where if we seem a little tired or something, there's a reason for that. And we still got a long ways to go. We got to the end of this month to go, but we're so excited about being able to go out and share about the different things that's happening in all the different areas of ministry. The Bible school, we're pretty excited about the Bible school, and we'll get into some more of that. And it's growing, and when Brother Bernardo had bought that piece of property that they bought, and got it fixed up on the downstairs for a church, we were looking for a place to have our Bible college, because I was telling Sister Rice that where we were having our Bible college, Sister Margarita had passed away. They had left before and moved up to the States because of the violence that was taking place. And then she had passed away early this year, and so that building was no longer available to us. And so we needed to find a place to have Bible college at, and Brother Bernardo had offered to let us use his church as a place to have our Bible school. And that's been going along, and it's been working out fairly well, other than the fact that where the Bible school is now is a place where most of the violence in the city of Victoria is taking place. And so not a lot of people want to go to an area in the city where most of the violence is happening. And so it's kind of cuts down on it's hard to advertise and tell people you're going to have college in an area where all the violence is taking place, but we've been doing it and had minimal enrollment, but we still have had enrollment every year, and it's doing well. And then about this time last year, by the way, we're looking for another place, and pray with us that God will lead us to a place in Victoria that we can afford to pay for and have our Bible school there, closer to the center of town. But about this time last year, God began dealing with me about having an online Bible college. And it's something that I had never considered before, never even thought about it before. And I began, from the time I was here last year till now, I was set out on a quest to find out how to get this done. And I found out, first I found some software that I thought might work that would help us get this done. And it was very limited on what I could do. And so I decided that wasn't the thing. And I kept looking for more software that I could use to get this done. And we came across some software that some big companies are using to hold webinars for their staff that are all around the country. And so we checked into it, and we're renting now. We're paying a subscription to this software. Where, just to give you an example, Dr. Rice can be here in Des Moines in her office teaching a class with this software going. I can be in Padilla, and I can translate the class for her, and the students look at it like we're sitting side by side. And I just got to think about that, and that's just amazing what this is, what the possibilities of this is. And so we got to looking at it, and I started paying for the subscription, and started looking at it to see if it was going to be something that was doable, and it looks like it's very doable. In fact, this month of October, we're going to be doing a lot of test runs on the software. And so we got that going on, and we started putting out some feelers on Facebook mostly, but we started putting out some feelers on what kind of interest we would generate if we would hold an online Bible college. And the first two feelers that we put out, over 50 people had contacted us and said, if you do this, that we want to be on board. We're going to go to Bible college with you. Nice thing about this is they don't have to leave their homes to come to Bible college. They don't have to leave their job. They don't have to leave their ministry. They don't have to leave anything. They can sit right there in their home and on their phones, or it doesn't have to be an iPhone. It can be on their phone, on their tablet, on their computer, their laptop, whatever it is. They can monitor now our classes that are going to be online. And so we're excited about that, and I think it's going to take off. And I was talking to Mom Rice about it the other day, and it almost scared me. She said, "Get ready, because," he said, almost immediately, he said, you can get away from it. You can get bigger than what you anticipate. So we're looking at that and trying to keep things under control and whatever. But it opens the door for us that not only now can we reach Mexico and Victoria, but we can reach all over Mexico, and not just Mexico, but we can reach all over the world. And if they speak Spanish, we can reach them. And that's exciting to me that from our little ministry there in Padilla, that we'll be able to extend ourselves way out beyond Mexico and be able to reach out in the world. We have some people looking at it from Argentina now. We have some people looking at it from the U.S., some Spanish-speaking people here in the U.S. And so that's really exciting to me, and we're looking forward to it. And I plan on going home and stopping by at least one of the prisons in Texas and talking to the chaplain there at one of the prisons in Texas and seeing about taking this Bible college program in Spanish to the prisons in Texas. And so we're excited about that. Pray with us, pray with us, pray with us, that God will help us to get this done. It's a very big undertaking, and my brother David, most of you probably don't know, some of you probably know David, and David is working with me on it. And as a matter of fact, in this year, David started a Bible college in his church, and it's going well. As a branch from our Bible college, he's got 13, I think, students that are meeting right now as we're sitting here. They're meeting in their Bible college there in Dallas, Texas. And one of the neat things about this is that all of this in the Bible college area is we affiliated with Shalom Bible College.
Yes.
So we're affiliated with I mean, we're tied even closer with the church and the ministry here. And that's exciting to me. I'm really excited about that, what God is doing in that area. And like I said, pray with us as we go back, and that God will use us in those areas, and we'll be able to reach way beyond what we've been reaching up until this time in the Bible college. I still believe that the Bible college is probably one of the most important areas of ministry that we're working at. Because through the Bible college, we can reproduce ourselves in the lives of many, many other people, and now in many other countries. We can reproduce ourselves and reach many, many more people with the gospel of Jesus Christ at the same time. Of course, there's more work. We'll have to hire more staff. But some of the things we can like when we teach a physical class there in Victoria, or my brother teaches a physical class there where he's at in Dallas, we can actually be doing the online class at the same time. So he doesn't have to teach the same class twice. And so we can double up that way some. But as again, pray with us as we go back, that God will help us in those areas. We still have our radio station going. Now we reached over several million people through our radio station around the world, and we're excited about that. I won't go into that too much because I want to get to the orphanage and talk a little bit about the orphanage before time gets away from me. And but the orphanage is doing well. The kids that we have there fluctuated quite a bit this year because, like Alma said, the state came in and they said a new party that had never been in office in our state before came in and won the election this past year. And their ideals are a little different than others, and I think they're just trying to get in and make a name for themselves and make a bunch of changes so they can look back and say, we did this and we did this. But one of the things that they have suggested that they would like for the kids to be with us only for 1 year. Of course, 1 year is not enough time for us to reach those kids. And they said, we think that in a year's time is enough time for things to get fixed and that they can go back home to where they came from. That's the most craziest thing I ever heard in my life. Because even though their lives are beginning to change with us, their home back where they came from has not changed a bit. And we can help them and get them to a certain place, and if they send them back home, they're going to send them right back into a situation that they came out of, and the reason why they're with us. And so pray with us that God will change their minds and that they will see the need for them to be with us on a long-term basis. Because of that, we had lost some of our kids this year that they decided that it was okay for them to go back home, and we didn't feel like it was, but essentially it was out of our hands. I'll give you a few ideas of some of the kids that came with us. We had some kids that came with us early this year, a couple of little boys. One was 3 and one was 7, I believe. The 3-year-old's name was Jefferson. Now Jefferson was quite a guy. When he came to us, I was gone when he came to us, and when I got there towards the weekend, I met Jefferson in person, and Sunday, of course, was time to go to church, and we went to church, and I'm trying to see how I can say this from the pulpit. And anyway, Jefferson walked in the building, and people said, "Oh," and they was trying to start to make over Jefferson, and Jefferson proceeded, and the only way he proceeded to give the bird to everybody that was in the church, and he just walked in, and that's what he was doing, and of course, him and I had a talk after church. My church understands because they know the situation that they come from, and so then after church, I took him aside, and Jefferson and I had a little talk, and Jefferson proceeded to give me the bird. and Jefferson, from the very first time that if you saw him when he first came to us, he always had such an angry look on his face. He looked like he was just mad at the world. And one of the ladies had even made a comment to him on the first days that he was there. He told him that God wanted to heal his heart while he was there. And Jefferson, 3 years old, his response was, he said, "There's nobody that can heal my heart." Can you believe that? 3 years old. And already he had been hurt and damaged so much that his comment back to us was, he said, "Nobody can do that." Well, Jefferson was with us over the summer, and we didn't have a lot of time with Jefferson, but we had enough time that we could show him a lot of love, and that angry, in fact, I got pictures of him on my phone. I wish I could put them up, but that angry little boy that he was when he came to us, he was a smiling young boy and very happy to be there, living there with us, and the ladies, of course, boys, he'd get up in the morning, they would say, "How you doing, baby?" or something like that, and he'd say, "Why do you say those things to me?" And they said, "Why?" And he said, "My mother never would say anything like that to me." I just can't imagine the pain or the everything that he had been through up until that time, that he would say some of the things that he said. And that's why when he come to church and when he see everybody and somebody would say something that he didn't agree with, that his response he just automatically responded, either saying a bad word or doing those gestures or whatever. That was how he responded. I guess that was the way that he had learned to survive in the world that he lived in. And it really bothered us with Jefferson because we felt like we still had a lot of work to do with Jefferson. And he'd only been with us just a short time, but like I said, we felt like we had a lot more work to do with him. But we could see that he responded immediately. He responded to the love and the attention that we were giving him. And of course, many other girls, the little girl that on the video that blew the kiss, Nayeli. Nayeli's 9 years old. Her mom is in prison. Her dad is passed away. Her mom's in prison for drug or for gang type activity, and they don't know when she's going to get out. And they first took her to live with her aunt and uncle. And her aunt and uncle, the aunt being her mom's sister, and the aunt and uncle that they had her, she was living in by the river, which that's no fault of theirs. They were just living in a very, very poor part of the town they lived in. And what they did, though, was that Nayeli, she couldn't eat until all the family ate, and then if there was something left over, then they would let Nayeli eat. And I can imagine that if they took her in, they should have treated her like she was one of their own. But that's what they did to her. They would make her wait, and if there was nothing left over, she didn't eat that day. Seriously, I mean that's how serious it was. And so that, and then the uncle said many times that he would beat her with a cord. He'd find a cord and just beat her with his cord. And so she came to us, and she was full of all kinds of infections, all kinds of body lice, all kinds of things that immediately we had to start taking her to the doctor to get some of those things taken care of. And one thing that we noticed about Nayeli is that she's 9 years old and has the body of probably a 6 or 7 year old. She's very, very small for her age, and somehow, even though she has grown during the time she's with us, she still is very retarded in her growth. And so now one of the things that we're doing for her, we're taking her to rehab and seeing if through the rehab that they can find out what's going on with her in her body or what she's lacking that's not allowing her to grow, so they can start treating her or so she can grow just like a normal child. But she's literally about this high, right? She's 9 years old, about that tall.
She's
And
like Jenny.
huh?
She's like Jenny.
Yeah. Well, they don't know Jenny, so.
Well, I know, like she's 7, my niece is 7 and really skinny, and Nayeli is just as skinny as her, tiny thing. I think last time we bought her an outfit, I think I bought her like a 5T when she was 8.
And so pray with us and Nayeli that they'll find out what's going on with her, and that God will touch her, and that she'll start to grow like a normal child. She's the sweetest little girl. Everybody that comes to the place, they want to adopt her. They said, everybody. They asked us, can we take her? And said, of course not. And anyway, so that's Nayeli. Angel, all the kids, they have their stories, the reason why they're with us. And back when my dad had the orphanage, all the cases that he had was because of hardships, that they didn't have the finances, the family to be able to support them. And in our case, every one of the cases that we have is due to some type, they're with us for a reason. There's been something that's happened in their home, something that's happened in their lives that has brought them to us. A couple of the older girls, we have to watch them closely because they cut themselves. And they say that the physical pain helps to drown out the emotional pain. And so many times when we don't see them, I wasn't gonna do this, but many times when we don't see them, we go looking for them, because many times they're off in a corner somewhere. They find something that they can use to cut themselves. That they say that helps them get through, and the physical pain drowns out the emotional pain. And they've been with us now for a few. Well, Paula's been with us now for 3 years, and Wendy's been with us now for almost a year, right at a year. In fact, just a little over a year. She just celebrated a year with us. And they now are not going, not near as much. We still have to watch them, but it's not near as much. They're doing much, much better. In fact, they're helping in the praise and worship in the church and doing some things. And so we're thankful there. Paula, when she came to us, she said, I know I got to be with you, but she said, I don't want you to talk to me about God. I don't want to hear about God. I don't want nothing. She said, I don't want to go to church. I don't want to, and because the way she looked at things was that she couldn't understand why she went through the things. She said, where was God when I went through all the things that I went through? And so she didn't want to hear anything about God. And we just, of course, we made her go to church, of course, but we just at her pace, we just let her come along at her own pace. We didn't push it. We didn't, we just talked to her, whatever, at her pace. Now she's helping in the praise and worship team at church, and now she's serving God. And so we're seeing a big turnaround in their lives. So we thank God for what He's doing there. And we had a few things that we had to do this year. After I went home last year, the health department came to us and did an inspection on us. And they came up with 11 new rules that we had to comply with if we were going to still stay in operation. And one of the things that they required us to do this year was that we had to monitor our water that comes in from the city. And our wellhead went dry. And so because the state came in and built a bridge near our place, and they decided to get all the sand and gravel from the river, which was behind our property. And when they went down there digging, getting out all that sand and gravel, what they did was they cut the vein that feeds our well. And just almost overnight, we went from having plenty of water to not having any water at all. And so we began to haul water then. From then, it was months we were hauling water over the summer and trying to find a different solution to help us with our water problem. And the city finally decided they would help us, and they got water out to the property, and city water. But when it came to us, it was the water pressure was so low that that if you just kind of squeeze it off just a little bit, it would just trickle down to almost nothing. By the time you get to the showers in the bathrooms, you open the shower and you just get some drips. That's all you would get from, and that's what we got from the city, because we're at the very end of their water system. Well, we had to find something to do with that, so we early this year began the process of we built a building, and we got some water storage tanks in there, and whatever we get from the city, then we allow it to fill up these water storage tanks, and it works on a system kind of like a toilet tank where it has a float in it that when it fills up, it just shuts itself off. So it's pretty much automatic. And whenever it needs more water, it just opens up and then more water comes in until it fills up again. And then from there, we put some pressure tanks and pumps and things on there, and that way we can pump it to all the buildings and everywhere we need to have water. Well, we had all that already kind of in place, and about $8,000 later, getting that done. And the city comes to us and they said, you have to now monitor your water. Well, that kind of helped us a little bit because we already had places where we were storing water. And so we had a place where we could monitor it at. And so they said, okay, the water that you have come in here, you have to check it for chlorine, for pH, for I forget what else levels you have to be checking. And monitor that every day and enter that into a log. And so we started doing that. Now the city of Padilla, where we get our water from, is not required to do this. And they service families all over obviously all over town. But because we're a children's home, they said, you are required to do it. And when we get our water, we checked it the first time, and there's absolutely no chlorine in the water that we get whatsoever. And the city of Padilla doesn't treat their water, they don't put anything in it. And so everything that's in that water, we have to add to it. And so every day we go out, and one of the guys that works there, the first thing he does, he takes a sample of water and does a test on it. And then whatever it's lacking, he has to add that into the water in the mornings, and then log it in a book, and then the next day. And so we were able to comply with that. Well, then they said, now you have to have a doctor on staff and a psychiatrist on staff. Now, if you have a few kids, it's really not in the budget to hire a full-time doctor and a full-time psychiatrist. And what's he going to do the rest of the time? I mean, if he checks them for a cold or their shot records, I mean, he could do all that, possibly in a day, and then he's got nothing else to do for the rest of the month, probably. And yet you still have to pay him a wage for the entire time that he's there. And we got to work with that, and we found we convinced the state, the health department, to allow us just to hire a nurse, not a full doctor, but to hire a nurse to take care of all of our records. And then we went out and we found a nurse that she agreed to, that she would sign on to be our official nurse, and that she would take care of all the kids. She would make sure all their vaccinations were up to date. She would make sure everything's done. She would take care of everything they needed to take care of. And she knows that to do all that, she could work 1 or 2 afternoons a week and get everything done that she knows how to do. And so she only charges us now for just the time that she's there. Yeah. And then the psychiatrist wound up being the same thing. That wound up that we were able to work the same type of deal with the psychiatrist. And then we had to come up with a menu. And the menu has to be specific for each child, because they took the weight of each child, the age of each child, and the height of each child, and they determine what their natural weight should be and what their and so if they're overweight, we have to have a diet for them, specifically for them, to help them get down to their desired weight. If they're underweight, then we have to find and so we had to hire a nutritionist that comes in and made us up a menu for each individual child that's there. And I'll confess, we don't go exactly by what the menu states, but as we do it as much as we can. But our nutritionist helps us get by with some things that and she signs off on it and helps us. But as a matter of fact, Ricardo's daughter is a nutritionist. And so she's got together and helped us do some things, and so we're thankful for that. But all that, even in all that, God has helped us get through all those hurdles and helps us to, and I said a long time, if it's God's will that we're there, He'll supply and He'll make a way for us to be there. And even though sometimes it looks like you scratch your head and you wonder, you're thinking, we're just here trying to help. And they're piling all this stuff on us, and the staff is wondering how we're going to get this all done. And I just say, well, if it's God's will for us to be here, He'll make a way. And He has always made a way. We've got through every hurdle. We've passed all of our inspections now. And we're just waiting now for our health certificate, which is on its way. And so we're thankful for that. But pray with us as we go back. That God will help us with the kids. Like I said, Alma has made up these beautiful prayer cards. And prayerfully consider which child you'd like to take home with you in that prayer card. And we'd like to encourage you to pray for that child every day. That God will help that child get healed of the reason why they're there. God will help him or her get healed up of whatever's going on in their life. And also give us the discernment and the wisdom to know how to treat each individual child and be able to minister to each individual child in the area that they need to minister to. And so, in what?
And the staff.
And the staff, yeah, pray for the staff, please. We go through a lot of staff. There's a lot of staff that good people, really good people, and their intentions are good, and they walk in and they think they want to change the world and help the kids and things, but when you're there day and night, and you see the girls cut themselves, and you see many things happen that you see that when you get a new kid, they're rebellious. I mean, we've got some kids that we had some kids that actually sit up at night, sitting on the bed at night. The other kids would tell us, trying to figure out how they're going to make the staff mad the next day. And so pray for our staff. That God will help them and use them and give them the patience and the wisdom they need to be able to do that. We got one of our staff ladies leaving as soon as I get home. Not because of that, but she had a similar situation. She had just gotten 4 of her grandchildren. I was going to say dumped them, but that's not a good word. That she, whatever happened in the home, she had just gotten 4 of her grandchildren that she had to take into her home. And it's very difficult for her to maintain things at her home now and maintain things at the children's home. And so she had said that before I left, she said, I'm resigning, but I'll stay on till you get back. And so when I get home, I got to hire a new lady, and we have to train a new lady, and I may take Alma and put her there for at least briefly to get till we get somebody trained in that position or whatever. And because Alma's such an amazing lady that I'm proud of her. Anyway, thank you so much for everything that you do. None of what we do would be possible without you. Literally nothing we would do. And it's amazing sometimes, in fact, sometimes literally, I pray to God, I said, Lord, we need some help financially, and all of a sudden, there's something that's been deposited in my bank account. And sometimes I can't tell till the next day where it came from, because it just shows that it's been deposited, but it hasn't cleared yet, so it doesn't show me who deposited it. And I check out the next day to see who deposited it, and they're Commerce Community Church is on there. And so thank you so much. I'm done.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Ana Paula Vázquez García, estoy ingresada en la Casa Hogar Nuevo Amanecer de Padilla, Tamaulipas. Quiero darles las gracias por su apoyo, me han ayudado mucho. Yo llevo ingresada aquí ya 3 años. Su apoyo me ha servido mucho y quiero darles las gracias por su apoyo. Todas las noches estamos orando por ustedes y seguiremos orando, y pues muchas gracias.
New Dawning Children's Home is located in a small town called Padilla, Tamaulipas. This vision started many years ago. The dream was to give children another chance at their future. New Dawning Children's Home has helped transform many lives since 1974 and continued to do so to this day. It all started with my grandfather, Vernon Delbert Wood. God placed in his heart to move with his family to Mexico and open an orphanage and a Bible school. when he passed away, the financial help the orphanage received decreased, and after some time it completely stopped, and the orphanage had to close their doors. After some years, God gave my dad, Greg Wood, a desire to reopen the doors of the orphanage, but we had to start from the bottom. So we started rebuilding. There was no money to rebuild, but there was 3 windows that he had in good condition, and God told them to use them, and trust that he would provide. After he replaced those windows, all the help we needed started coming. In 2013, we reopened our doors, and since then, we've been able to serve all of our children. Hardly any of our budget comes from the government, and that's why we must ask for public support. Some may call that promotion, but telling their stories is vital for helping our kids. Many of these children feel like they don't have a voice, and without us sharing their stories, we wouldn't be able to receive the public's help. Therefore, we would be obligated to close our doors due to the lack of financial help. Sadly, the Mexican government is not as invested in the lives of these children as we are, leaving many of them to beg on the streets. Kids in Mexico start working from a very young age, selling candy on the streets or cleaning windows at a stoplight, making them an easy target for people to lead them into a life of prostitution and drugs. But we are here to change their stories. These children have been through so much hurt. Some of them have suffered from physical or sexual abuse from their parents. Others have been rescued from their homes because they were being mistreated. This place represents a new start for them. New Dawning Children's Home is helping bring happiness and hope to these children. For more information on how to become one of our sponsors, email me at almawood@outlook.com or visit our website at newdawning.net. Paola, Wendy, Nayeli, Lalo, Geraldo, Angel, all of them want to say thank you for being in their lives. Thank you for all the support you have shown us.
Me llamo Nayeli, tengo 8 años. Gracias por todo. Feliz Navidad.
Gracias. Thank you. Gracias.
Los quiero mucho.
Our board members and staff also want to thank you for keeping us in your prayers. Without you, we wouldn't be able to do all of this. So thank you one more time for everything. Thank you for listening to our story. My name is Alma Wood, and I hope you have a great rest of the week.
Close now.